the work of art in the Age of
Metaverse Reproduction.
Essay 19. The increasing
Datafication
of modern man and the increasing formation of
divided masses.
are two sides of the same process.
Late-stage capitalism.
Attempts to organize the newly
Datafied.
masses while leaving intact the
Identity politics and accompanying division.
which they strive to.
Foment.
It sees its salvation in granting expression to the masses, but on no account granting them rights. The masses have a right to
Changed identities. Late-stage capitalism purports.
give them expression in keeping these relations unchanged. The logical outcome of
Late-stage capitalism.
is an aestheticizing of political life. With D'Annunzio, decadence made its entry into political life. With Marinetti, futurism, and with Hitler, the bohemian tradition of Schwabing.
And with Trump, the mass mobilizations of MAGA and Me Too.
All efforts to aestheticize politics culminate in one point. That one point is war. War, and only war, makes it possible to set a goal for mass movements on the grandest scale while preserving traditional property relations. That is how the situation presents itself in political terms. In technological terms, it can be formulated as follows. Only war makes it possible to mobilize all of today's technological resources while maintaining property relations. It goes without saying that the
Late-stage capitalism's simultaneous abhorrence for and
glorification of war does not make use of these arguments. Nevertheless, a glance at
such media pontification.
is instructive. In
Berillio's critique of modern warfare,
we read,
from the first missiles of World War II to the lightning flash of Hiroshima, the theatre weapon has replaced the theatre of operations. Indeed, the military term theatre weapon, though itself outmoded, underlines the fact that the history of battle is primarily the history of radically changing fields of perception. In other words, war consists not so much in scoring territorial, economic or other material victories, as in appropriating the immateriality of perceptual fields. Since the battlefield has always been a field of perception, the war machine appears to the military commander as an instrument of representation, comparable to the painter's palette and brush. As is well known, great importance was attached to pictorial representation in the Oriental military sects, the warrior's hand readily passing from brush to sword. Similarly, the pilot's hand automatically trips the camera shutter with the same gesture that releases his weapon. For men at war, the function of the weapon is the function of the eye. It is therefore quite understandable that, after 1914, the air arm's violent cinematic disruption of the space continuum, together with the lightning advances of military technology, should have literally exploded the old homogeneity of vision and replaced it with the heterogeneity of perceptual fields.
this manifesto has the merit of clarity.
And the weight of 20th century history.
The question it poses deserves to be taken up by the dialectician. To him, the aesthetic of modern warfare appears as follows.
If the natural perception of wartime is controlled by the media machine,
Then the increase in technological
communication,
in speed, in sources of energy will press toward an unnatural use. This is found in war, and the destruction caused by war furnishes proof that society was not mature enough to make technology its organ, that technology was not sufficiently developed to master the elemental forces of society. The most horrifying features of
any war.
are determined by the discrepancy between the enormous means of production and their inadequate
Division of the massive profits generated, alongside their unwillingness to turn their technology towards peacetime objectives. The industry of war.
is an uprising on the part of
Technological oligarchies,
which demands repayment in human material
over and above.
the natural materials
Lobbyist governments provide.
it. Instead of deploying power stations across the land, society deploys manpower in the form of armies. Instead of promoting air traffic, it promotes traffic in shells. And in
Weapons of mass destruction.
it has found a new means of abolishing the aura.
Fiat lucrum, Periat mundus, says late-stage capitalism.
expecting from war, as
Virilio,
admits,
a surfeit of visual objects on.
sense perception altered by technology. This is evidently the consummation of la pour la. Humankind, which once in Homer was an object of contemplation for the Olympian gods, has now become one for itself. Its self-alienation has reached the point where it can experience its own annihilation as a supreme aesthetic pleasure. Such is the aestheticizing of politics as practiced by
Late-stage capitalism. All political ideologies fail so far in.
politicizing art.